Now, as far as some of the strangest issues that I've worked on, one I'm going to talk about a little bit more later. I had a television show contact me a couple of weeks ago, and I actually went on and recorded this national TV show that I can't really totally talk about because they made me sign a contract, but the short story of it is that it was one of those courtroom shows, and they have a woman who blacked out from drinking too much and was accused of destroying some expensive equipment belonging to her boyfriend. And she didn't remember, of course, doing it because she blacked out. They wanted me to hypnotize her to remember whether or not she had done it. Now, there are a couple of interesting things that had to take place for that to work. Now, one of them that I was insistent upon initially was that she has to be cooperative. If she's not cooperative, she doesn't want to remember, then I can't really do anything with her. If she is, then I can. About 3 years ago, I had a 16-year-old girl who came to see me for a session. She came in with her aunt. She had to move from Atlanta to like Mableton or something because in her high school she had a Sweet 16 party at her house, and her parents allowed all of her and her friends to drink. And she got so drunk that apparently she was accused of taking her friend's car out, riding it down the street, and crashing it into a tree. Okay, she didn't have any memory of this because she had drank so much. So she came in wanting to know whether it was true because she had to go to court and testify. So she came in that day, I hypnotized her, took her back, helped her to reconnect to those memories, and she actually remembered doing it. Now, she wasn't happy that she'd done it, but she had lost friends because of this. She had to move to a new school. She had to move out of her house. So for her, it was a sort of a catharsis to at least know, okay, this is what happened. I can move on with my life. And for her, it was helpful. For this person on the show, it worked in about the same way. But I am going to mention that just a little bit more when we talk, before we do the hypnosis later on today. One other unusual thing that I get requests on all the time, not all the time, but every year, are people wanting to, can you help me to erase my ex-boyfriend or my ex-girlfriend from my brain? I do get that a lot. There are a couple of different ways to answer that. And we're all laughing because we identify with it, okay? Okay, the short answer is no. Okay. Now, did anyone see Eternal Sunshine, that movie with Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet? Okay, great movie, and I loved it. And the idea was that in the future there's this technology where they could just erase someone from your brain completely. But without ruining the plot of the movie, what you learn from that is that if you actually did erase from your memory completely a person, you also erase everything that you learned from that. And so, what happens in the movie is that they experience that pain of, what happens if you didn't learn from it. With my clients, what I say is this, okay? I can't erase an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend from your memory, but what I can help you to do is to forget about it a little bit more, meaning to not be focused on it all day long, because when the breakup first happens, or for a period afterwards, it's undermined so much, and everything around you reminds you of them so much that it can feel overwhelming, like it's hard to even function. So I can do some things with hypnosis to change what your focus is, and also to help you to heal from that experience. So if it's painful, if you're feeling lost, then yeah. So when someone calls me like that, the short answer is no, I can't erase them, but the long answer is yeah, I can help you. I can help you to get over it or feel better. Now, another one that I've had, for some reason this year, an abundance of that I never had before this year, is something called Trichotillomania. Anyone ever heard of that? That's hair pulling. So I've had a lot of clients who, just either they reach up on their head and they just keep pulling it out absent-mindedly, or they'll even pluck out their eyebrows. Some of them do it to the point where they have no hair on their face at all. And this is it's a nervous habit, and it's something that typically starts due to stress. Sometimes if you just take away the stress, the symptom of the hair pulling will go away. And sometimes it's not that simple. So I've had some success with that this year. I've had other clients, frankly, who not so much. But I also, a couple of them that were more difficult were younger kids, kids of 10, 12 years old. There was a woman who was in her 30s who I was able to help her stop completely after the first session. We did a few sessions to reinforce, but she stopped pulling it totally after one. Now, I've had anyone here have weird food issues? Like don't like vegetables or don't like certain types of food? Or, okay, none of you. Well, I've had some really weird people in my office this year. Okay, people who were like, literally this one had a vegetable phobia, meaning that when she was 10 years old, her and her brother were at an uncle's house, and the uncle forcibly made them eat all these horrible vegetables to the point where they were sobbing, and where you're doing that thing of the kid where you're coughing. And so she went through this horrible traumatic experience. And all these years later, it was like 10 years later, because I think she was 20, she was saying she couldn't even get near a vegetable without gagging. And so I helped her to change that gagging reflex. I've had others in a similar thing as swallowing pills. Like when they put the pill in, automatically the gagging reflex comes. So these are things that are not logical habits, but they are automatic or unconscious reactions. And these are things that can be changed using hypnosis as well. I worked with one person recently on a fear of skydiving. It was a friend of mine, actually, and I went skydiving. Anyone ever gone skydiving? No? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 people. Okay, so we went skydiving. I went skydiving in May for the first time, and I was able to successfully at least keep my wits about me. And later on this year, we went as a group, and this one girl was so afraid, she was so worried about it, that she wasn't able to enjoy herself leading up to it. So I said, well, why don't you come in and I'll hypnotize you and we'll see how it works. And she did. 2 days before we jumped, she came in, I hypnotized her, basically just talked her through what the experience is going to be like. And when we went out and jumped that day, she was up in the plane getting the video done, and they're asking her 2 minutes before she jumps, how you doing? And she's smiling and laughing. She's making jokes about me because I'm seated behind her on the plane, and she's saying, I'm very calm. Because on my video I said, I'm very calm. You know, so she was talking about it and joking and laughing, and when she goes to stick her head out the plane, her face is just out, and she's got this big smile on her face, and then she just falls out. You know, after we were finished, she actually booked her next jump like that same day. So there are a lot of cool things that you can use it for. One other one that I got asked about on Q100 that I actually had a chance to work on with one of their listeners was sex drive. Now this one was a woman in particular. Now the woman on the show initially said, the caller said, can you help me to have an orgasm? And I said, no. And Jeff Dauler, the other host of the show, said, and if hypnosis can't, Sean can. But no, the actual answer is yes. And the reason why yes is that a lot of what takes place during sex is mental. Meaning, we all know that if you're thinking about baseball or grandma, that things aren't going to be working out in the way that you want them to. However, if you're focused on the sensations and what's happening, meaning the sights, the images, the sounds, the physical sensations, even the smells, all of these things are going to affect your experience. So what for this one client I did in particular was, her mind was always just racing, thinking about the kids and thinking about problems and thinking about this and that, always outside of the actual experience. So I helped her to focus her attention on being in that room and on her husband. And because of that, yes, she was able to enjoy her experience.